So yeah, this is like a random video that I thought about doing. Maybe there's good reason to do it. And that is, why do I make YouTube videos? Like, since being like a teenager, or like in my tween years, I've had an ambition of doing YouTube, which I grew out of because I think like in recent years I don't have any like ambition to be a YouTuber, to make money doing YouTube, because if it was easy to make money, everyone would be doing it, or a lot more people would be doing it. But yeah, when I was a kid, I had an ambition to do YouTube, and when I found out it was realistic to do, I kind of became obsessed with the idea. Um, like this was like when YouTube was in its infancy, and things like Annoying Orange and Fred were big. So these just random videos. So you can just tell the sort of content I was making. It was just so random and cheesy, and led to bullying at school. Like worse than I had it before, because I think before I did it, I weren't really bullied. I don't think, or not that bad, but I think it got worse after I started making YouTube videos. Like I was seen as the weird kid, like a weirdo and stuff. Well, yeah, back then I used to be really big on a YouTuber called Danebo, and back then he was a relatable guy. He came across relatable, quite funny, was very big into like video production, had the odd job some working on video production, because I think outside of doing his YouTube he did like Pimp My Ride sort of stuff, and did all like the visuals to do with that show, like the way like animations and transitions, all that sort of stuff. But it's like back then in the early 2000s, it was cheap production to what it is now. But he was obsessed with these like visuals and visual effects, and it was cheap, tacky visual effects, like putting your face on an orange, for example. But back then, it fascinated me, and because I didn't have the equipment, or I didn't know how to do that, it fascinated me. So I tried to like mimic that sort of stuff. And there's a guy called Tobuscus back then. He was very similar, very random, very weird, bit autistic probably. And yeah, I used to look up to them. And back then, I didn't have any equipment. I had a laptop that my dad had, so and it had like Movie Maker on it or something. So I had next to no equipment back then. I just worked with what I had available and just made YouTube videos and do fucking shit. And I think that was no just random. That was me as being creative, being experimental, and I think that was when I've got Asperger's, by the way. That's me probably embracing my Asperger's, like my full fucking autism fucking came out, like just being weird and creative, probably being myself. That's probably when the mask came off, because I think I went through a time where I weren't really bothered about being a weird kid at school. And just later thought, oh, it just leads to bullying, slowly anyway. But yeah, then I gave up on YouTube, I think. I'm guessing it was probably because of the bullying, but I can't remember. I think it was. But yeah, I gave up for years, like probably like 10 years at least. But when I was at uni, like my attentions were elsewhere. I was interested in just other things really. When I was at uni doing animation, which is like in line with that sort of stuff, but at a higher production value, I had better equipment. I wouldn't say it's like groundbreaking equipment, like world class or anything like that, but I had better equipment. I had access to cameras, mainly like iPhones, but I see an iPhone camera as a pretty good camera. Like these tripods for iPhones, I got lenses for iPhones, so I had some like production value there, where I had like a fisheye lens and all that sort of stuff, and these weird lenses. I had an iPad as well, I had a laptop. This was before I got a MacBook, but I ended up getting a MacBook for free when I finished uni, because I found I had a load of money on my card. So I thought, oh, getting myself a MacBook, which costs £1,000 usually. But yeah, I found I had way better equipment than I did back when I was a kid. So I got it like I flirted with the idea, but I weren't seriously thinking of it as like an ambition. I was thinking, what if I started YouTube again, but do it way better than I did before? Like, so eventually I thought I'd do it, but as like an experiment. Because really, all this is just an experiment. It's not a passion of mine. It's not something I put all my life and soul in, especially these days, because I do videos in low production value because I'm just not bothered, to be honest. But back then I put some effort into it, like with the editing and all that, but I don't think YouTube needs that these days anyway. But I thought I'd do like film reviews because I was interested in films. I watched a lot of film content on YouTube. People like The Flick Pick, Chris Stuckman, John Campier, to name a few, and just like these film sort of reviewer sort of people. So I thought I'd just do what they're doing, or similar. But I was into like independent film, like I was big in like art house sort of independent. So I did it in a way of doing it like art house style independent films, like very obscure sort of films, or films that are not as known. So I thought I'd do that. And I didn't understand YouTube, I didn't understand the algorithm, and it got me nowhere. I got no views, nobody was fucking interested in them. And eventually I gave up. Probably did it for like a year because this was when COVID was a thing, so I thought I'd do it because I didn't really have anything else to do. So I thought I'd do YouTube. But I also did other things like art book reviews and all that, and some of those videos are still on this channel because I upload it onto the same channel. But decided weren't getting me anywhere. It weren't really a passion of mine. It weren't an ambition. I thought I'll just give it a try and experiment because I've got some better equipment to do it. And it turns out it was a fail. But those videos are still up there. That's partly why it's called archives. Like, it's an archive channel. It's just archived videos, really, of just random shit I've done in the past. But not long after that, I got ill. And I've talking about me getting sectioned in hospital on this channel before, so maybe watch one of the other videos. But yeah, I think after getting ill, I turned to music as a coping mechanism, because I was big on like electronic music and alternative music, and I used it as a coping mechanism. And I found that I can make music on my iPad through GarageBand. So I started experimenting with that. Like, I started watching a lot of videos on someone breaking down samples of electronic music. So people like the Chemical Brothers, the Avalanches, Daft Punk, what samples they were making. And this was like before I got into like ambient and IDM and all that sort of stuff, because I listened to like Aphex Twin, but that was like as close to as I got. But yeah, I thought I'd sample stuff like out of films and just anything, and I thought sampling can be quite a fun creative process, and using synth sounds that I can find on GarageBand, because you got a good range of synths on there and a few other instrumental sounds. Got a drum machine on there, so I just started experimenting with all of that for like a good year. Got a bit carried away with it, but it's part of who I am. I just get carried away with shit, because I never thought I'd be a musician. So I started experimenting with that, and I started putting my music on visuals, not visuals I've made, it's just random visuals I've found on YouTube. Some can be old films, some can be archived videos from the past, like just random videos that I can find. So I put in my music and I started uploading it to this channel. Put all my old videos on private and started uploading sort of like music videos or visualizers, as I call them, under the name that I was going for back then, which got even less attention from people. So, but I finally got a distributor for my music, and I found I just make an automatic YouTube channel for my music anyway. So I scrapped that idea, because my music's on another channel, and like platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, and just called this channel Electronica Archives. I gave it a few names before that, but settled with Electronica Archives, because that's what it is. But I found that I can just do whatever I want with this channel. I don't really give a fuck anymore. It's a channel about anything and everything. And that's partly inspired by YouTubers that I've come across recently, because I think since COVID, since the change in government with Labour in charge, and people are not happy with Labour, people are just sick of the world. They're sick of this country. People are fed up. So I've started coming across a lot of YouTubers that express their frustration of how fucking sick of this fucking world they are. Just how fed up they are. How people that had similar thoughts to what I do. So it felt like I wasn't alone with my thoughts. And yeah, I started coming across YouTubers like not very big YouTubers. Some have like 18 subscribers, for example, but the real people with real thoughts, the relatable. I started coming across YouTubers like there's a one called The Wandering Pessimist, but back then he was called The Realist Rant Man. But I personally don't really watch a lot of him because he makes content that I'm not that interested in personally at the minute anyway. But back then he was just making videos on like how shit life is, how pointless life is, and even though it's a bit depressing and that, I can relate. I can relate to that sort of stuff. And there's another guy called I think he's called Uncle Jammer Talks, which is just another ordinary guy that talks about his frustration with the country, but he's a bit more like upbeat and stuff. But he's kind of relatable. There's a guy called Tracking who might be my favourite YouTuber at the minute because I just find him really relatable. And there's this girl called, I can't remember what she's called. There's this girl that has like pink dreadlocks and just talks about real life problems and stuff. Not always interested in every video she makes, but she can come up with like the odd video where fucking hell I can relate to that. Just everyday normal people that are easy to listen to and stuff. And there's just many more YouTubers that I like coming across. Like there's a woman that recently moved to Ireland that talks about life experiences and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought if they can just express their frustration and gripes with life and talk about personal stuff like Asperger's that I'm not comfortable with sharing to people normally. I can do something similar. This is an area where I can get stuff off my chest, and maybe, just maybe, some people out there might be interested and relate to what I talk about. And like I'm not expecting a big audience, and no, I don't even have a big audience. It's fair. I don't even think the YouTube algorithm is pushing my stuff out there at all. To be honest with you, which it's just the main reason I don't like YouTube. Well, yeah, I thought this is maybe a place where I can share my frustration with life and share things, and someone out there might just relate. But even if people don't listen, I probably still make these videos because I can just get it off my chest, and it's just out there in the wilderness. Yeah, there's a channel called KD 2.0 that I watch that sort of does that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's the reason I make YouTube videos. It's not a passion. It's not really something I'm that passionate about. It's just low production value. Like, if I can be asked, I might put a bit of effort in with some nice visuals and some music. But most of the time, I just can't be asked. Shove my phone on, make them anonymous because it's personal. Because I want to make it as anonymous as possible, even though there's probably some of my identity out there already. But who gives a fuck? It is what it is. Well, yeah, that's why I make YouTube videos. It's not a passion project or anything. It's just a place where I can maybe get things off my chest, and there's people that are doing similar content. Apparently, that's sort of popular according to some people. But yeah, it's just an area where I can maybe get stuff off my chest. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. Goodbye.